السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين. أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فاسألوا أهل الذكر إن كنتم لا تعلمون. صدق الله العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الأمين الكريم. Please recite durood and salam upon the best of creation. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina wa maulana Muhammadin tibbil qulubi wa dawaiha wa afiyatil abdani wa shifaiha wa nuril absari wa diyaiha wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa barik wa sallim. कुछ लोगों ने कहा कि उर्दू में भी होना चाहिए क्योंकि ज़्यादातर लोग जो बैठने वाले हैं वो अंग्रेज़ी नहीं जानते हैं और जो अंग्रेज़ी जानते हैं वो मस्जिद में बैठते नहीं हैं. Unfortunately, the youth don't attend the durus. Even when we offer something for them in English, initially they complain saying that there's nothing for them in English. When we offer something for them in English, then they don't sit. And there's no one even within our community who will go around and tell the youth to come and sit in the masjid to at least listen to the dars that happens between Asr and Maghrib in the month of Ramadan. This is the time to seek ilm. This is the time to learn the Quran, the time to learn the Sunnah. And what we're teaching here is from the Quran and the Sunnah, is from the life of the Salafus Salihin. We are talking about the Salafus Salihin in English, but the youth still don't sit. So instead, we as English speakers have to accommodate for Urdu speakers. And we have to then move from English into Urdu because the youngsters are not sitting. This is the irony of the situation, and unfortunately this is a problem within our society, that the real question is, where are the youth? If they're not in the masajid, then where are they? When they don't attend the masajid, then they must be somewhere else. And why don't they attend the masajid? This is a discussion for another day, inshallah. But yesterday we were looking at the madhabs. We were putting the madhab, specifically the Hanafi madhab, into context. And we were trying to understand some of the objections that have been leveled against the Hanafi madhab. The most common of those objections being that it is the furthest away from the hadith and from the sunnah. And the reason why people make this objection, they say because in Kufa there was no ilm of hadith. It did not exist. Yani हनफी मذहब पर जो किए जाने वाले जो एतराज़ात है, जैसे कि हनफी मذहब अहादीस और सुन्नत से बहुत दूर है, यानी ये सब जो एतराज़ात जो किए जाते हैं उसके जवाब इंशाअल्लाह हम देंगे. So I explained that from the earliest generation until now, the most senior and the most eminent scholars, they followed a particular madhab. This is something that cannot be denied. Any person who denies this, then he's a liar, then he must bring proof. Whatever name that a person brings from the Salafus Salih, from after the Taba'i, from that generation until now, if someone brings us one name, then we will tell them which madhab they belong to. I explained this yesterday, that every single one of the eminent scholars, the most senior of the scholars, they followed one of the madhabs, including Imam Bukhari and including Imam Muslim. यानी शुरू से लेकर अब तक बड़े बड़े उलमा जो जय्यद उलमा थे, यानी सब उनमें से सब ने एक मذहब की इत्तिबा की है, उसमें कोई शक व शुबा है ही नहीं. और उनमें शामिल है इमाम बुखारी भी, उसमें शामिल है इमाम मुस्लिम भी, उसमें शामिल है. तो इतने सारे जय्यद उलमा ने एक मذहब की इत्तिबा की है. Then who are we? They followed one madhab in particular, then who are we? Okay, so we were looking at this context yesterday, that throughout the entire generations, all of them relied on one madhab. So this accusation of, does this madhab follow the sunnah or the hadith or not, then these things are all fallacies, and they are simply illogical, and they don't make sense in terms of what is the reality. So we looked at the Imam of the school. Briefly, yesterday I explained about the Imam of the school, Imam Abu Hanifa, that he was born in 80 Hijri. Okay, and this is approximately 69 years after the departing from this world of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's just 69 years. Okay, today people make claims that 1400 years later, and we have these ulama, these shuyukh in Saudi Arabia, and people follow them and do ittiba of them, and they denounce the madhabs. Whereas Imam Abu Hanifa was from the Salafus Salih, He was just 69 years after the departure of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And I explained that Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah was a tabi'i. Yani Imam Abu Hanifa ये ताबई में से थे, क्योंकि उन्होंने अनस बिन मालिक रदियल्लाहु अन्हु को देखा था. अगरचे उनकी उम्र बहुत कम थी, लेकिन उन्होंने देखा था. और मुहद्दिसीन ने फरमाया है, मुहद्दिसून ने फरमाया कि जिसने भी किसी सहाबी को देखा वो ताबई है. Even if a person hears from him, narrates from him or not, whether he talks to him or not, as long as he sees one of the companions, then he is a tabi'i. So Imam Abu Hanifa is the only person from among the 4 imams that is a tabi'i. None of the other 4 imams, none of the other 3 remaining imams are a tabi'i. Only Imam Abu Hanifa is a tabi'i, meaning he had seen Sayyidina Anas bin Malik with certainty. All of the historians have written this. Okay, so we explained this yesterday as well. So we're trying to set the context about Kufa. When people make this objection that Kufa lacked ilmul hadith, Kufa did not have the science of hadith and the riwayat and the traditions of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we were trying to dispel this, that we were looking at the era before Sayyidina Imam Azam Abu Hanifa. Before his era we were looking at. So we looked at this context that in Kufa, Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anh, after he was conquered in 17 Hijri, Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anh, he sent Sayyidina Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas. We already explained from the Ashra Mubashira. Okay, he sent him there to teach the people. After him, Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anh sent Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anh to Kufa to teach the people. And I explained yesterday that it is written in the books of history, and when the ulama document the lives of the Khulafa'i Rashidin, he explains that before, by the time Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu anh became the Caliph, became the Khalifa, by that time Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he had already produced 4,000 scholars. I explained this yesterday. 4,000 scholars Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anh had produced by the time of Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu anh in Kufa. We're talking about Baghdad. This is before the birth of Sayyidina Imam Azam radiallahu anh. So I also explained that there were around 1,000 companions that had shifted to Kufa. When Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anh shifted the entire empire to Kufa, then thousands of companions, they moved to Kufa also. Because Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anh, after Sayyidina Umar, Sayyidina Uthman came. The caliphate remained in Madinatul Munawwara. But when Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anh came and there was all of these issues, Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anh, he moved the caliphate of Islam because he was the Amirul Mu'mineen. And the Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah accept that Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anh was the Amirul Mu'mineen. And he moved the entire Muslim empire to Kufa, Baghdad. This is before the birth of Sayyidina Imam Azam Abu Hanifa. So then they say that after Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anh came, we had the likes of Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. But they also mentioned that many of the tabi'i, those people who had seen the companions radiallahu anhum, they would travel far and wide. They wouldn't stay in Kufa. Okay, they wouldn't stay in Kufa and that's all they would do. They would travel far and wide. They would travel to Asham in Syria and the Levant area. They would travel to Mecca, to Medina, to different areas they would travel. And when they would travel to these areas, they would seek hadith from the different Sahaba that were alive at the time. So it's mentioned in the Tabqat of Ibn Sa'd. He records this, that more than 200 tabi'i have reported, from Kufa, those that were in Kufa, the tabi'i, those who had seen the companions, more than 200 of them have reported directly from the senior Sahaba. They have reported hadith directly from the senior Sahaba. More than 200 tabi'i. They had seen in Kufa, they had seen the companions far and wide. So some of the companions that resided in Kufa was Sayyidina Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas. I explained this yesterday. Sayyidina Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas from the Ashra Mubashira. Okay, Sayyidina Ammar bin Yasir was also in Kufa. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, who is a very instrumental figure, inshallah we'll talk about him later. Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anh, we all know about Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anh. Sayyidina Abu Musa al-Ashari, also a companion of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Sayyidina Salman al-Farsi, we've also heard his name. These people, these companions were in Kufa, they were in Baghdad before the birth of Sayyidina Imam Azam Abu Hanifa. Before his birth they were in Kufa. Yes, so already Kufa had companions. Many companions were residing there, and people were seeking aid from them. So the most important of them is Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. यानी Kufa में बहुत बड़ा इल्मी माहौल था. यानी ऐसा नहीं था कि वहाँ इल्म हदीस था ही नहीं. वहाँ सबसे बड़े सहाबा किराम वहाँ गए थे, सैयदना अली रदियल्लाहु अन्हु, सैयदना अब्दुल्ला इब्न मसऊद रदियल्लाहु अन्हु. तो वहाँ इल्मी माहौल था, खुसूसन जो कुरान और हदीस और ये सब जो उलूम है वो कूफा में थे. Sayyidina Imam Azam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah ta'ala, unki पैदाइश से पहले. So Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, very instrumental figure in this. It's very important to remember his name. Like I said yesterday, if you forget everyone's name, but you remember just the name of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, then this is enough. This is enough for you to have a discussion with anyone who decides to denigrate the Hanafi madhab and slander the Hanafi madhab. Just remember the name of Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud is very instrumental. Now Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, who was he? Let's understand him so we can understand the context before Imam Azam Abu Hanifa came into this world. Let's understand the context of Kufa. What was the ilmi mahol? Did we have the hadith there or not? So let's look at Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. It's very important because Abdullah ibn Mas'ud was the most instrumental figure in Kufa. So it's important to understand him and understand his level of learning and who he was as a person, so then we can understand what happened after him, leading up to Sayyidina Imam Azam Abu Hanifa. So Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud was a senior companion. People probably have heard his name. When you read the books of hadith, you'll probably see regularly An Ibn Mas'ud, reported from Ibn Mas'ud, or Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, reported like that in the hadith. He was a very senior companion of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was a faqih, a person who had the true understanding of the deen. Okay, he was a muhaddith. He had true understanding of the hadith. Okay, and he was from among the people, the earliest of people to have accepted Islam. So he was from the very early generations of those who had accepted Islam. This is Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. Okay, and he was also part of those people who had migrated to both places. Okay, in Islam, in the history, there are two migrations, one to Abyssinia and the other to Medina. And those people who are present within these migrations, they are considered to be the most elevated from among the Sahaba. And Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anh, he was present in the migration to Abyssinia, and he was present in the migration to Madinatul Munawwara as well. Okay, so we have this migration, this virtue that he also has. Okay, he was also one of the most knowledgeable among the companions. That they say that the companions themselves, they have groups within them in the sense of ilm, those who had the highest levels of knowledge. And Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anh, he was among the companions who had the highest level of ilm. I explained yesterday that there are 20 of the Sahaba who the ulama agree that they were mujtahideen, yani they had the highest level of learning of the hadith of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud was one of them. Okay, he was also very close to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, extremely close to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that they say with regards to Abdullah ibn Mas'ud that he was the keeper of the secrets of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that there were secrets that no one knew about except him. That's how close he was to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This hadith is also in Bukhari Sharif, where he mentions a particular aspect of this, that he used to keep the secrets of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam because of his closeness to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He would also carry the shoes. Also, this is in Bukhari Sharif. He would also carry the shoes of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, he would carry the miswak of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He would carry the ablution water, the container of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He would carry these things for the Messenger. Meaning he was a khadim in the court of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was always with the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is how close he was. Now, if someone is extremely close to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then imagine the kind of ilm and ulum that this person would be acquiring. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, with regards to his level of learning, let's look at his level of learning. That they say with regards to Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, when we analyze the hadith literature, all of it, and we look at all of the narrators, we see from these narrators that he is the 8th most prominent narrator or transmitter of hadith. The 8th most prominent. We have other companions like Sayyida Aisha Siddiqa radiallahu anha, Sayyidina Abu Huraira radiallahu anh. We have these companions who are in the top list of those who have narrated the highest number of hadith. But Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud is the 8th most prominent transmitter of hadith. Imagine that. The 8th most prominent. Okay, so anyone who makes this objection, these claims that the Hanafi madhab lacked hadith knowledge, then we will refute these things one by one, inshallah. But he was the 8th most prominent. And it's mentioned, Imam Nawawi himself, in his calculation, he mentions that Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud has a total number of 848 narrations from the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam directly. Okay, so Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud very close to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So with regards to some virtues of Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anh, that Sayyidina Abu Darda radiallahu anh, a companion of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says that Alqamah bin Qais, who was a student of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, he says that I met Abu Darda radiallahu anh in Asham, and I asked him, okay, فَسَأَلَهُ فَقَالَ, So I asked him something, a question. And he said to me in reply, Abu Darda radiallahu anhu, a companion of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, Tas'aluni wa fikum Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. You are asking me, but among you, within Kufa, is Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. Why are you coming to ask me when you have someone who is more senior and more prominent than me, which is Abdullah ibn Mas'ud? It's the companions themselves acknowledging that Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud was the most knowledgeable from among them. So Sayyidina Abu Musa al-Ash'ari radiallahu anhu, he says, okay, so when he was asked, Imam al-Dhahabi, he narrates this in his Siyar A'lam al-Nubala. Okay, when he documents the lives of the A'immah, he writes this particular thing. That said, Abu Musa al-Ash'ari, also a companion of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, said, "La tas'aluni an shay'in ma dama hadha al-habru fikum." That don't ask me anything with regards to the deen for as long as this major scholar is among you. And he explains that what he meant by that was Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. Sayyidina Abu Musa al-Ash'ari radiallahu anhu is saying that go to this eminent scholar, yani from among the companions, he is the most eminent, go to him, don't ask us. When he is present among you, then why are you coming to us? He is most senior to us. Okay, and he also mentions when Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anh, he sent Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud and Sayyidina Ammar bin Yasir to Kufa in the early days when it was conquered, and he sent Sayyidina Ammar bin Yasir and Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. Within that he said, okay, he sent a letter to the people at the time, and he said to them that I am sending to you Ammar bin Yasir and I am sending to you Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu an as a teacher. So Ammar bin Yasir will be the Amir, the leader, and Sayyidina Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiallahu an, I am sending him as an alim, a teacher for you. Okay, these people are from among the most eminent of the Sahaba, min nujaba. Yes, he explained that these are from the most eminent of the Sahaba, and they are those people who were part of Badr. Okay, they were in the battle of Badr. These are the most eminent of Sahaba, and he says that you need to follow them. You must follow them. You must obey them. You must listen to them. And he said, whatever they tell you, then you must do. And he said that I favor for you people, for all of them, yani the people of Kufa, I favor for all of you Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud even over myself. This is Sayyidina Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, the second caliph of Islam, with regards to whom the virtues, regarding his virtues, the books of hadith are filled. This is Sayyidina Umar. He's saying with regards to Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, that I favor him for you people more than myself. Okay, so this is the greatness of Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu. And then with regards to another hadith within Bukhari Sharif itself, that the Hudayfa radiallahu anhu, he was asked, okay, with regards to the person who was the most closest to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam in terms of appearance, in terms of character to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so that we can learn from him, explain to us. So they asked the people with Sayyidina Hudayfa radiallahu anhu, they asked that, explain to us, tell us about the person who had the closest conduct, so we can acquire from him. So Sayyidina Hudayfa radiallahu anhu, he said, مَا أَعْرِفُ أَحَدًا أَقْرَبَ سَمْتًا وَهَدْيًا وَدَلًّا بِالنَّبِيِّ صلى الله عليه وسلم مِنْ ابْنِ أُمِّ عَبْدٍ. That there is no one that I know of that is closer in terms of the appearance, in terms of character, in terms of behavior, in terms of conduct to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam than Abd, yani Ibn Abd. And that was the nickname that the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam had given to Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. So this is the companions, they are saying with regards to Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anh, that he was the closest in terms of character and conduct to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In another narration, the Sayyidina Abu Musa al-Ash'ari radiallahu anh, he says that when we came from Yemen, okay, this is in Bukhari Sharif also, when we came from Yemen, me and my brother came from Yemen, he narrates this hadith, okay, and we thought initially that Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anh is from the Ahl Bayt, and he's from the family or the household of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because we would see him frequenting the house of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam so much, and he would come and go so much from the house of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that we thought that he was from the household itself, even though he was not. This is what Sayyidina Abu Musa al-Ash'ari says, that when we came from Yemen, we saw him in this manner, that he was frequenting the house of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he was attending the house of the Messenger, going in and out. Only the Ahl Bayt would do that. But Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu had this level, that he would frequent the house of the Messenger. So imagine what was he acquiring from the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's all I need to allude to. I don't need to explain in detail. These are all allusions that a person who has basic understanding will be able to understand what I'm alluding to. That if a person is this close to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where other companions are saying about him that he was frequenting the house so much that we thought he was from the household, then imagine how much ulum he was acquiring from the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, this is not some nobody. Okay, this is Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu. And then he says, this is a hadith in Bukhari Sharif. He himself narrates this hadith. He says, Wallahi alladhi la ilaha ghayruhu ma unzilat suratun min kitabillah illa ana a'lamu ayna unzilat wa la unzilat ayatun min kitabillah illa ana a'lamu fima unzilat. He says that I swear by Allah. Okay, I swear by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I mean, he takes an oath. That's how much conviction he has with regards to this statement of his. He says, I take an oath that there is no surah revealed in the Quran. There is not one chapter of the Quran that is revealed, yani the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, except that I know where it was revealed. Okay? Aina unzilat. I know where it was revealed. And there is not one verse of the Holy Quran, within the Quran itself, that I do not know with regards to whom it was revealed about, or what is the context of that revelation. This is saying Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, he's saying that every single surah of the Quran, he knows where it was revealed. Every single verse of the Quran, he knows with regards to what it was revealed about, what the context for that verse is. He himself says, وَلَوْ أَعْلَمُ أَحَدًا أَعْلَمَ مِنِّي بِكِتَابِ اللَّهِ تُبَلِّغُهُ الْإِبِلُ لَرَكِبْتُ إِلَيْهِ. That if there was someone that I knew in my knowledge that was more knowledgeable than me than the Quran, then if it was possible for me to travel on a camel to him, then I would go to that person. Meaning, in his opinion, he's saying that I am the most knowledgeable from among the Sahaba with regards to the Quran. This is Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. Okay, another hadith. He says, Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud says, خطبنا عبد الله فقال والله لقد أخذت من في رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بدعا وسبعين سورة والله لقد علم أصحاب النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أني من أعلمهم بكتاب الله وما أنا بخيرهم. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu, one time he gave a lecture, and within that lecture he said that by Allah, again he took an oath, that's how much conviction he has, that I took from the mouth of the Messenger, the blessed mouth of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, more than 70 chapters of the Quran. I heard them directly from the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he says, by Allah, wallahi, he says, by Allah, I am the most knowledgeable with regards to the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than all of the companions. He says that himself, and none of the companions, it's mentioned in the hadith itself, at the end, towards the end of the narration, mentioned that none of the companions ever would refute this. If someone, for example, I make a claim that I am the most knowledgeable of the people, then someone would object, saying that no, there's this person, there's that person. Someone would object. Saying that Abdullah ibn Mas'ud is standing among the companions, he's giving a speech, a lecture to them, and he's saying to them that I am the most knowledgeable from among you, from the Sahaba, with regards to the Quran, and none of them objected. What does that mean? It means every single one of them accepts that Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud is the most knowledgeable from among them with regards to the Quran. This is something that cannot be doubted. So let's understand this. Why Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu, why is he so instrumental? Okay, Imam al-Dhahabi rahimahullah ta'ala, when he documents the lives of the Imam, the A'immah that have come, the Sahaba, the A'immah, the narrators of Hadith, in his Siyar wa A'lam al-Nubala, which is a very large collection of the biographies of from the Sahaba all the way until the time of Imam al-Dhahabi. He records all of this. And in this he mentions that the most knowledgeable of people of Kufa, the most knowledgeable of people within Kufa, within Baghdad, was Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu, and Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. Okay, the most knowledgeable. We've established that much. Okay, we've established this era, this generation of Sayyidina Ali and Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. We've established how learned Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud was with regards to the hadith of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, with regards to the Quran itself, that none of the companions ever refuted the claim of Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud that he was the most knowledgeable with regards to the Quran. So we established this era, this generation, the generation of Sayyidina Ali and the generation of Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, the companions within Kufa itself. Okay, then Imam al-Dhahabi, he says that the most knowledgeable from among the students of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud is Alqamah bin Qais. Okay, and from among the most knowledgeable of the students of Alqamah bin Qais is Sayyidina Ibrahim al-Nakh'i. From among the most knowledgeable of the students of Sayyidina Ibrahim al-Nakh'i is Sayyidina Hammad bin Abi Sulaiman. From among the most knowledgeable of the people in terms of knowledge of the students of Hammad bin Abi Sulaiman is Sayyidina Imam Azam Abu Hanifa. Okay, he establishes this chain. So now look at this chain. Let's look at this chain. Sayyidina Abu Hanifa radiyallahu anhu. studied with Sayyidina Hammad bin Abi Sulaiman and other. They say that Sayyidina Imam Abu Hanifa had 4,000 shuyukh, 4,000 teachers that he acquired ilm from. But the most prominent of his teachers is Hammad ibn Abi Sulaiman. That's why they mentioned with regards to Hammad bin Abi Sulaiman as his main teacher. Okay, so we have Sayyidina Abu Hanifa. He learned from Sayyidina Hammad bin Abi Sulaiman, who learned from Sayyidina Ibrahim al-Nakha'i, who learned from Sayyidina Alqamah bin Qais, who learned from Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, who learned from the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. There's a chain of Sayyidina Imam Azam Abu Hanifa directly to the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Only a 69-year gap from his birth. Only a 69-year gap to the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And people have the audacity to say with regards to the Hanafi madhab that does not have an attachment to the hadith of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We have the most learned of the companions within Kufa itself, who our shuyukh, the Ahnaf, the major Imams of the Hanafi madhab, Imam Abu Hanifa himself had acquired from the major ulama who had studied from the students of Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. Okay, so we have this chain, it exists. So let's look at some of these people. I've already mentioned Sayyidina Ali briefly and Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud because he was the most important instrumental in terms of imparting the knowledge. With regards to Sayyidina Ali, there's not much that I need to say. The reason why I've not mentioned regarding Sayyidina Ali, because I don't need to mention it. It's basically self-explanatory. With Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, people might not know with regards to him and his virtue. That's why I've explained it. With regards to Sayyidina Ali, there is no need to even discuss his virtue. Every single person knows his virtue. It's enough to just say that the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said regarding Sayyidina Ali that he is the door of knowledge. That's it. That's enough to say with regards to Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anh, that he is one of the most knowledgeable of the companions. This is something that cannot be denied. So we have Sayyidina Ali, we have Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud in Kufa. We've established that much with this generation. Then from the students of Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, yani the Taba'i, those who acquired directly from Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud in Kufa, whilst they were in Kufa, was Sayyidina Alqamah bin Qais. When I've established the chain, that the student of Sayyidina ibn Mas'ud, the most prominent of his students was Alqamah bin Qais. Okay? So he was Alqamah bin Qais. Okay, he was also a Taba'i. We'll also see from this chain, okay, of Abu Hanifa, we'll see of Imam Azam's chain, that every single person who he acquired ilm from was a Taba'i. Every single person. Hammad bin Abi Sulaiman was a Taba'i. Okay, then we have Ibrahim al-Nakha'i was a Taba'i. We have Sayyidina Alqamah bin Qais was a Taba'i. Okay, and Sayyidina Ibn Mas'ud was a Sahaba. So we have every single person that Sayyidina Imam Azam acquired ilm from was a Taba'i. Yani from the best of the generations of Islam, he acquired ilm from them. Okay, so Alqamah bin Qais, the second layer, okay, from Abdullah ibn Mas'ud to then Alqamah bin Qais. Okay, so we have Alqamah bin Qais, who was the most prominent of his students. Alqamah bin Qais was a Taba'i, he was a student of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, and he related narration, meaning he directly heard narrations. Alqamah bin Qais heard narrations from Sayyidina Umar, okay, Sayyidina Ali, Sayyidina Uthman, Sayyidina Sa'ad bin Abi Waqqas, Sayyida Aisha radiallahu anha, Sayyidina Huzaifa radiallahu anh. He heard, Alqamah bin Qais heard direct narrations from the companions. He was also a student of Ibn Mas'ud and also heard narrations from him, but he also has reported from these Sahaba. The point I'm trying to make, okay, try to keep up and understand. The point I'm trying to make that there are these Sahaba, these Taba'i, that are acquiring this knowledge from the Sahaba. They're all residing in Kufa. What do you think happens 50 years later? Do you think the knowledge of hadith goes away from Kufa? Do you think these prominent ulama that came to Kufa, the Sahaba, and those that they taught, do you think they disappear after 50 years when Imam Azam was born? Is that what happens? Okay, this is illogical. So we understand this chain, that there is a presence of ilmul hadith at a very high level in Kufa. So Alqamah bin Qais, he had heard from all of these companions. Okay, he's a Taba'i, he had heard from all of these companions, including Sayyida Aisha radiallahu anha. Okay, with regards to Sayyida Aisha radiallahu anha, there's not even much that needs to be said with regards to her, that she is from among the most learned. The ulama mentioned that she's a woman. People like to object with regards to Islam and the treatment of women. The Sayyida Aisha radiallahu anha, the ulama say that she is the wife of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and by virtue of being the wife of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and staying in his house every day, day in, day out, being able to acquire the ilm at the highest level, they say Sayyida Aisha radiallahu anha was from among the most prominent of the Sahaba in terms of knowledge. The highest level of learning, she was one of the mujtahid, one of the greatest in terms of the ulum of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and half of the hadith literature, pick up the books of hadith, an Aisha, half of our religion comes by the narration of a woman. Okay, an Aisha, every single, pick up Bukhari, Muslim, every single other collection of hadith, you will see an Aisha, that it's reported from Aisha, She narrated so many things from the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And Sayyidina Alqamah bin Qais has heard narrations directly from Sayyida Aisha radiallahu anha. This is the students of Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. So let me read what Imam al-Zahabi in his Siyar I'lam al-Nubala, what he mentions with regards to Sayyidina Alqama bin Qais, okay, the student of Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. He says, Faqihul Kufa, and he was the most learned in terms of jurisprudence in Kufa. Okay, وعالمها, he was the alim, ومقرئها الإمام الحافظ المجود المجتهد الكبير. This is what Imam al-Dhahabi writes with regards to Alqama bin Qais. He says that he was the alim, yani the alim of Kufa. Okay, he was the imam. And one very important word I want to concentrate on is al-hafiz. Okay, al-hafiz, when in hadith literature the word al-hafiz is used, it's not meant for the Quran. Okay, yani when the word hafiz is used for the hafiz of hadith, those who have memorized hadith. And a person who is a hafiz of hadith is a person who knows 100,000 narrations of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam off by heart with the chains of narration. Okay, that's what a hafiz is. Now remember, look at this. Alqama bin Qais, he says he's faqihul Kufa. He says he's the alim of Kufa, he's the imam, al-hafiz, and he calls him al-mujtahidul kabir, a very, very big alim, and he says he was a hafiz. It's very important to concentrate on this word. The reason why, because of if a person is a hafiz, Imam al-Dhahabi himself has written a book called Tazkiratul Huffaz, and he's not very lax. Imam al-Zahabi, everyone knows, Imam al-Zahabi is not very lax when he mentions about the narrators of hadith. He's very strict with his recording of the narrators of hadith. He writes with regards to Alqama bin Qais that he was a hafiz. Hafiz means he knew 100,000 hadith. This is Alqama bin Qais in Kufa. He knows 100,000 hadith. Imam Zahabi says he's a hafiz of hadith. So then you're saying that there was no knowledge of hadith in Kufa? This is illogical. Okay? And then he also writes, Imam al-Dhahabi continues to write, كان الفقهاء بعد أصحاب رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بالكوفة في أصحاب عبد الله القمة وعبيدة وشريح ومسروق. That the most learned, the fuqaha, those people who are the most learned after the Sahaba in Kufa, okay, he says from the students of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, the first one he mentions is Alqama bin Qais, then we have Ubaidah, we have Shurayh, we have Masruq. These are from the famous Taba'i, but Sayyidina Alqama was the most famous from among them. So Sayyidina Imam al-Dhahabi writes this. Okay, so we have this second layer established. Okay, that Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, then his student Sayyidina Alqama bin Qais, remember, hafiz of hadith, knows 100,000 hadith. Okay, to be a hafiz, that's the minimum requirement. They know more than that, but the minimum requires 100,000 hadith. So it's called a hafiz. So Alqama bin Qais is a hafiz, a student of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. Then Alqama bin Qais, his student is Sayyidina Ibrahim al-Nakha'i. Sayyidina Ibrahim al-Nakha'i himself was a taba'i. Okay, and he met Aisha as well. Sayyidina Aisha radiallahu anha. Sayyidina Ibrahim al-Nakha'i also met Aisha when he was a child. Okay, so he was among the junior taba'i. So with regards to Ibrahim al-Nakha'i, Imam al-Zahabi writes, Ibrahim al-Nakha'i Abu Imran ibn Yazid ibn Qais al-Imam al-Hafiz Faqih al-Iraq. Okay, it's very important. The reason why I'm establishing this is so that we understand this concept of the ilm al-hadith that was present in Kufa. We established in Abdullah ibn Mas'ud companion. Nothing you can say with regards to him. The companions themselves are by definition, they are all just. And there is not, in the books of hadith, we have the concept of jarh and ta'deel. Okay, that we have them chains of narration. The A'immah, the scholars, they look at the chains of narration and then they either praise the narrator and say that this narrator is trustworthy, or they either refute the narrator and say he's not trustworthy. With regards to the companions, in the books of hadith, the usul is, in the books of hadith, when it's a companion, there is no question. That's it. It stops from there. As soon as it says sahabi, then it's thiqah. Meaning by virtue, by definition, just them being a sahabi, they are by virtue the most trustworthy narrators. There is no discussion with regards to them. Okay, so we established in Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. We established in Alqama bin Qais, hafiz of hadith, the faqih of Iraq, the extremely knowledgeable alim of Iraq, of Kufa. Okay, then we have his student, most prominent, Ibrahim al-Nakha'i. Okay, he met Aisha, so he was also a taba'i, Sayyidah Aisha radiallahu anha. With regards to Imam Zahabi says, al-hafiz faqih al-Iraq. Okay, calls him a hafiz also. Yani Ibrahim al-Nakha'i is also a hafiz. So we have from the teachers of Imam Abu Hanifa, from the teachers of his teachers, we have one who is a hafiz, we have another who is a hafiz, we have another who is a companion. Okay, look at this chain. Try to understand this chain. Okay, and with regards to Sayyidina Ibrahim al-Nakha'i, Imam al-Dhahabi goes on to say, وَكَانَ بَصِيرًا بِعِلْمِ ibn Mas'ud وَاسِعَ الرِّوَايَةِ فَقِيهَ النَّفْسِ. He says with regards to him that Sayyidina, he was one of the most knowledgeable with regards to the knowledge of Ibn Mas'ud that was passed down to him from Alqama bin Qais. And he said that وَاسِعَ الرِّوَايَةِ, yani he had a large number of narrations of hadith. He was not narrating something else, he was narrating hadith. Okay, what they say with regards to him, كان إبراهيم السيرفي الحديث. You know, sayrafi is used for exchange, when you exchange money. So they say sayrafi al-hadith, he was an exchanger of hadith. That's how his level of learning in hadith was, that they called him the exchanger of hadith. That's how much knowledge he had of hadith. This is Ibrahim al-Nakha'i, also a tabi'i, also a hafiz of hadith. Okay, then we have his student, the most prominent of his students, which is Hammad ibn Abi Sulaiman. Okay, he was also a tabi'i. Okay, because he had seen Sayyidina Anas bin Malik, and not just seen Sayyidina Anas bin Malik, they say that he has also reported narrations of Sayyidina Anas bin Malik. So we have Hammad ibn Abi Sulaiman. With regards to Imam al-Zahabi writes, Hammad ibn Abi Sulaiman, Muslim al-Kufi, al-Allama, al-Imam, Faqih al-Iraq. Okay, and it says, قُلْتُ لِإِبْرَاهِيمَ النَّخَعِي. We asked Ibrahim al-Nakhai, yani the teacher of Sayyidina Hammad bin Sulaiman, مَنْ نَسْأَلُ بَعْدَكَ. Who shall we consult with? Who shall we ask with regards to the matters of the religion after you? Sayyidina Ibrahim al-Nakhai said, Hammad. Yani Hammad was the most prominent of the students of Sayyidina Ibrahim al-Nakhai, who himself was a tabi'i. So the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, very famous hadith which we probably already heard the translation of a dozen times. Okay, the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, خَيْرُ النَّاسِ قَرْنِي ثُمَّ الَّذِينَ يَلُونَهُمْ ثُمَّ الَّذِينَ يَلُونَهُمْ. That the best of those people, the best of any type of people in this world, are those people who are in my generation, yani the Sahaba. And then the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, and then those after them, the one who follow them in the generation of the tabi'i, ثُمَّ الَّذِينَ يَلُونَهُمْ, and then the generation of the tabi'in. The ulama differ with regards to what it means by which generation. That does it mean after, when it says ثُمَّ الَّذِينَ يَلُونَهُم, does it mean the generation of the Sahaba separately or not? This is something, it's a different matter. But the point being that within this hadith, one thing is for certain, that the tabi'i are from among the best of the generation. The Messenger of Allah himself said. Now we have, with regards to the chain of Imam Azam Abu Hanifa, which I already explained, we have every single teacher or the teacher of Imam Abu Hanifa is from among the tabi'i. Every single one of them, and every single one of them is a hafiz of hadith. Okay, it's not a small title to come by. To know 100,000 hadith is not easy. Okay, this is a very high title. So we have this chain, okay, all the way until the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So with regards to Imam Abu Hanifa himself, so we've established already Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, okay, companion of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the best, the greatest, the most prominent in terms of his understanding of the Quran. Then we have Al-Qama bin Qais, who is his student. Okay, then we have Ibrahim al-Nakhai, who is his student. Then we have Hammad ibn Abi Sulaiman, who is his student. And then we have Sayyidina Imam Abu Hanifa, who is a student of Hammad ibn Abi Sulaiman. So all of these are tabi'i. And Imam Azam acquired all of his ilm from the tabi'i, from the best of the generations. Okay, and all these people, they were memorizers of hadith. What do you think they were narrating to the people of Kufa? Do you think they were talking to the people of Kufa about politics? Do you think they were talking to the people of Kufa about medicine and other sciences? They were talking to the people of Kufa about the hadith of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they were talking to them about the Quran. We've already established this. Okay, so Kufa was a very large center of knowledge. This is something that cannot be denied. I've established the entire chain of knowledge, and if someone else decides to differ with that, then they need to bring proof. Okay, whoever makes a claim, they must bring a proof. And yesterday I mentioned that there's a particular Salafi who made a comment that the Imam Azam Abu Hanifa, even though he acknowledged that he doesn't know anything about the Hanafi madhab, but then he said that Imam Azam Abu Hanifa, he was a great alim, but he lacked resources. And by resources he meant he lacked knowledge to hadith. Okay, we've established that that's a complete lie. It's a false narrative that certain people push to try and move the Hanafi madhab away from the hadith, whereas it's not true. We have established that we have the greatest of the ulama, the greatest of the Sahaba that were present in Kufa at the time, spreading the knowledge of hadith. Okay, that's something that we cannot deny. Then we have Imam Abu Hanifa radiallahu anhu, yes, the main Imam that we're talking about, born in 80 Hijri, the student of Hammad ibn Abi Sulaiman, and also the student of others, yes, many of the other tabi'i. He was also a student of them. I can't go into the detail of all of the other tabi'i, that's why I'm only mentioning the most prominent, so that we can understand the chain. So Abu Hanifa himself, Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam al-Dhahabi rahimahullah, in his Tazkiratul Huffaz, okay, Tazkiratul Huffaz, he includes Imam Abu Hanifa as among the Huffaz of hadith. Okay, Imam Abu Hanifa is among the Huffaz. Imam Dhahabi himself says in Tazkiratul Huffaz, he has a chapter, Al-Nu'man ibn Thabit, Abu Hanifa, there's a chapter, and he says that Imam Abu Hanifa was a hafiz of hadith, and Imam Azam Abu Hanifa himself knew 100,000 hadith at the very least. Otherwise he wouldn't be a hafiz. So if he did not have knowledge of hadith, then where did he get these 100,000 hadiths from? Why did Imam al-Dhahabi call him a hafiz of hadith? Okay, these objections that these people have is only based on envy and jealousy. That's all they have. They are envious and jealous of the Hanafi school, that it is the most prominent and the most spread school, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given the school so much barakah that is spread across the entire world, that it is the most prominent madhab in the entire world. Okay, these people have this jealousy. Okay, the Salafiyah, the Wahhabiyah, they have this jealousy, and that's why they make these false claims. We've established that all of those claims are wrong. Yes, that the hadith, the knowledge of hadith was in Kufa, and we had the greatest of the Sahaba that existed there. Okay, also included within the Huffaz, yes, of hadith, in Imam al-Zahabi himself, Imam Zahabi himself in Tazkiratul Huffaz, he includes Sayyidina Imam Abu Yusuf. Sayyidina Imam Abu Yusuf is the most prominent of the students of Imam Abu Hanifa. So even the students of Imam Abu Hanifa are huffaz of hadith. And people have the audacity to make the claim that Imam Azam Abu Hanifa didn't have access to hadith, when his own students themselves are huffaz of hadith as well. Okay? So the most knowledgeable of his students was Sayyidina Abu Yusuf, rahimahullah ta'ala. Okay? Then from the students of Imam Abu Yusuf was Imam Muhammad. Imam Muhammad was also a student of Imam Azam Abu Hanifa also, but he was also a student of Abdullah ibn Sayyidina Imam Abu Yusuf. Okay, so we have Imam Abu Hanifa. Then we have Imam Abu Yusuf, the most knowledgeable from his students. Then from the most knowledgeable of Imam Abu Yusuf's students, we have Sayyidina Imam Muhammad, rahimahullah. And collectively, they both refer to as the Sahibain in the Hanafi madhab. Okay, so we have Imam Muhammad. Then from the students of Imam Muhammad, they say that the most knowledgeable of the students of Imam Muhammad is Imam al-Shafi'i. So look at this chain, yes? Look at this, understand this chain. These people don't mention this chain for a reason, because they know once you start looking at the chain, the history, the context, and all of their objections, they fall apart. You understand the fallacy and the illogical things that they are saying, it all falls apart. That look at the chain that Imam Azam Abu Hanifa had already established the madhab and the school and the fiqh in Kufa, to the point where his student and the student of his student and then the student of his student is Imam Shafi'i. Okay, Imam Shafi'i, the second mujtahid, is a student of the student of Imam Azam Abu Hanifa. So this is the level of learning that we had in Kufa at the time, just before Sayyidina Imam Azam Abu Hanifa. And then obviously when Sayyidina Imam Azam Abu Hanifa came, he studied with Hammad ibn Abi Sulaiman, who studied with the Ibrahim al-Nakha'i and so forth, as I've mentioned, all the way to Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, and then to the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So we have this chain to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, from Imam Azam Abu Hanifa, okay, from Abu Hanifa all the way to Sayyidina the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now I ask the Salafiyya and the Wahhabiyya that show us your chain of fiqh from yourself all the way to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's all that they have to show. Show your chain to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's impossible for them to show their chain to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Our chain goes through the Sahaba, the Tabi'i, the Tabi'i. Where is their chain of fiqhiyat and jurisprudence? They don't have this chain, and they like to object to the Hanafi madhab. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability to act upon the truth and stay upon the truth. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.